All right. Sorry about that. Ooh, sometimes this thing likes to do what it likes to do. But this is Doc Ock coming at you live and in person. We're on May 20th today, the day after Malcolm X's 95th Be Earth Day. And we're still doing it here. We've been doing it since March 12, April 12, May 12. So you can see we've been going a couple months in a row. And I tell you, it's a job. It's really a job. But every day we try to bring you something fresh. Every day we try to bring you something that you may not have been aware of the day before. Okay, it's not necessarily new because this is we delve into historical pieces in terms of the proverbs that we present to you and the stories as well. And so the proverb of today definitely is not new. It's from the Congo. And the proverb is, where there is no shame, there is no honor. And if you think I'm trying to be like Obama, I'm not. I'm just saying it was in the book. I just took it out of a book. It says right there, where there is no shame, there is no honor. Now, if that applies to you, so sorry. Maybe you need to have a little shame. Be ashamed of yourself for some of the things that you've done or that you haven't done or that you're thinking about getting ready to do so that you can have some honor. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, let's do this little dance. And we're reading today from My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. My Life in the Bush of Ghosts. And still in the town of Short Ghosts. But this is Barbing Day. So the day when everybody will get their hair cut, quote unquote. I don't know what these ghosts look like. He hasn't fully described them in terms of their facial features, etc. So I don't know how much hair they have, but here we go. As all the heads which were on the body of Flash-eyed Mother, and also all Short Ghost heads were full of much thick and dirty hair like weeds. So they were only barbing once in a century, when the Secret Society of Ghosts Festival is near, so that a special full day is reserved for barbing their heads, and their barber is one of the fire creatures who was qualified for barbing heads with the clippers and knife of fire. Oh yeah, it sounds like the town of the Short Ghosts. That sounds like something they would do. But when it was announced by the Flash-eyed Mother that the barbing day would be tomorrow, I thought our heads would be barbed with the ordinary clippers, scissors, and knives, as in my hometown. So I was jumping up with gladness because I was never barbed once since about 14 years that I entered the Bush of Ghosts. So he got in the Bush of Ghosts. He came in, he was about 7 or 8. It's now been 14 years he's been in the Bush of Ghosts. So we can extrapolate that he's got to be about 21 or 22 years old now. So when the day was reached, all of us were bound to be in one spot. After a few minutes there, I saw a creature who was fire and held the clippers of fire, which were blazing with the flame of fire. First, he started to barb for those heads, as everything must first start from them. But I was very surprised to see that all of these heads were shouting with joy as these clippers of fire were touching their heads instead of crying. Again, it was this day I noticed carefully that uncountable beetles, bees, wasps, and many other kinds of biting insects were living inside the hair of these heads as their homes. And also their mother's head was full up with numerous small birds which built their nest inside the hair of her head as on the trees. Having barbed all the heads and their mother, then he started barbing for the Short Ghosts. But after he barbed half of them, all the heads reported to their mother that they were feeling hungry. Then she ordered those half who had been already barbed to go out and kill an animal from the bush. So at this stage, I had a chance, and mixed with those who had been already barbed, as if I had barbed my own too. So it was this way I saved myself from barbing my head with the clippers of fire. One day, when I was seriously sick, I was detailed to be at home by the short ghost, to be serving the mother with anything that she wanted to do. I was greatly surprised to say that it was that day I knew that she was selling the flash fire of her eyes to other kinds of ghosts who were coming from the various towns to buy it. And a flash was worth a heavy amount of ghosts' money. So she was selling the flash fire of her eyes to other kinds of ghosts. Wow. Now this went along more closely with the proverb than I thought, because it sounds a lot like today. Now we're gonna leave our story off here. That is the end of that particular chapter. That was one of these really little short chapters. Now I could try to read another one, but it'll take me at least another 10 minutes to read through this next story. So I'm going to save that one for tomorrow. Okay. And for you females out there, looks like tomorrow we may be reading about the super lady. Okay. The super lady. Okay. Oh yeah. This book has some interesting chapters in it. Very interesting, considering the time that it was written. I believe it was like, 1958? 58, I believe, is the publication date in here. 1954. Well, actually, yeah, 1954 was the publication date for this particular book. So we're going to talk a little bit about hair, and we're going to talk about this whole barbing thing, and we're going to talk about that proverb as well. So do about 3 things in the next 5 minutes. So number 1, this whole thing about the hair. You may have noticed that I have way less hair if you've known me in the past from what I used to have. I used to have hair. My beard hung all the way down to my navel, and the hair on my head went all the way to the floor. Well, now I just have this little scrap of hair left. Well, as it turns out, I am not a short ghost, but I had been growing my locks for 35 years. So I went without a shave. Well, I'd never shaved before. Still haven't shaved. I just trimmed this up. I didn't shave it. And I hadn't had a haircut in 35 years from the birth of one of my daughters. But that whole entire time that I was not shaving or not barbing my head, one of the things that I had to be concerned about was what things my hair would come in contact with, because the nature of Black people's hair being as curly, kinky as it is, things get held very tightly. And if they get into your hair, it's very difficult to get them out. Lint, anything like that. You have to really pick at your hair to try to get that stuff out. So you want to be, I had to be very careful about where I lay my head. I always kept my crown on to cover my head, to keep bits of flotsam and jetsam from getting into my hair. But the other thing about the hair, the growing of the long hair, is that not only does it trap physical things, but the locks of the hair actually they capture that spiritual, that ethereal energy that's out there in the universe. So in other words, if I was around in a crowd of people and they had a lot of negative, there was a lot of negative vibrations in the room, those vibrations would get trapped in my hair and they would become a part of me. They'd go around with me everywhere I went. They would now be with me. Just like if I stepped into a lake full of water, when I get out, I'm going to be wet. I'm going to be wet for a while until sometime in the future when that water dries off or evaporates and goes away. So the locks were like that. So for all of you people out there that are growing locks today and you like to go out and just flash your locks, these are just a few reasons why you may want to cover your locks. Okay, having your locks covered is, from in my estimation, is preferable. Now, just as an example, this is a very short story. There was a brother I heard about in my early days of growing my locks when I was still learning about locks and Rasta, etc. I read a story about a brother who had a headache. He had a massive headache for a number of days. It might have even gone into weeks. And then he expired. He died. And when he died, that's when they realized that he had a scorpion trapped in his locks. And that scorpion had been stinging him constantly in his head. And that's why he had such a big headache. So just to give you an example of the kinds of things that can get trapped in your hair, it could be way more serious than some bugs and some beetles or even some birds. Okay. A lot of things could get trapped in the hair. So when I read this section in Tutuola, those are the kind of things that come to my mind, that this is more of a reality than some kind of mythological something that could never happen in real life. And then the second part, last part, is about that proverb. Yesterday was, or on this weekend, on Saturday, former President Obama got out there and he did what do you call it? He did a graduation presentation, graduation speech, or commencement address. And his commencement address, he was highly criticized for his commencement address because he mentioned certain things, but he never mentioned any names. So sometimes I may do things that are similar to that. Like I mentioned the proverb today, and I've got one for tomorrow. It's even more on point than that one was. But these are old proverbs that have always been out there and that we've used for thousands, hundreds, if not thousands of years to guide our youth. We pass these proverbs on to the youth, and they become part of the youth, just like those things that get trapped in your head, in your locks, become a part of you, and they go with you wherever you go. That's how these proverbs will stick with you and with whoever you pass these proverbs on to as well. So the proverbs, for me, it's a very important part of the presentation, and I'm trying to present one proverb a day, at least one new proverb every day, for people just to think about, share with your friends, your loved ones, your family, and even your enemies. Share them with your enemies too, because maybe they can learn something new. Maybe they can learn what they should have done when they did what they ought not have done. All right. So I'll go over this one again one more time today. Think, if I remember it correctly, where there is no shame, there is no honor. Oops, too late. It's already become a part of me. I don't even need to read it out the book anymore. Where there is no shame, there is no honor. So think about that one as you're watching TV and the daily news, so on and so forth. Where there is no shame, there is no honor. And I leave you with those words today. Make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure to give us a like, give us a share, show everybody that you really do care. Don't just sit there while you stare. And I do see you over there, Moyo. How you doing, Mutamba? And I see Imani as well. Good to see everybody there tuning in. We'll return here tomorrow. If you get a chance, make sure to take a look at the what's at the back of the black man's mind. That's what former President Obama, he gave us an idea on Saturday of what's at the back of his mind, although he really never goes off into it. If you really want to know what was at the back of President Obama's mind, watch What's at the Back of the Black Man's Mind on YouTube. You can get a link to it off of Facebook. It's on our banner. You click the banner, it'll take you to a description, and there's a link right there that'll take you right to it. It's 48 minutes, but yeah, you want to see the presentation. You want to see Luther, the Obama anger translator. along with the other videos. Put all those together. There's a message in there for you. Special message just for you. Peace out now.